Yes, I know. Don't you believe that all religions are equal?
Who are you to say you have all the answers? Does it really matter what religion a man believes in? Come on.
It's the way you live from day to day that really matters.
Miss Liz, you were recently reported as saying that the Catholic Church is the one true church. Certainly you're not so narrow-minded that you believe that Catholicism is truer than other religions. What about the multitude of educated people who believe otherwise?
Do you realize that as of today, there are over 33,000 different denominations of Christian religions? Now, out of these 33,000 different denominations, you tell me, which do you believe is the true church?
It doesn't matter. No, not what denomination you are.
What difference does it make?
And why is this even important? We all basically believe the same thing.
Not exactly. Otherwise, why would denominations split over and over? Catholics have the Eucharist, confession, sacraments, the Pope, the unbroken line of bishops, and the Blessed Mother. By my estimation, that is different than any other Christian groups. But let me ask you this. If you discovered that there was a church founded by Jesus, would you then believe that was the one true church?
Look here, little lady. Everyone here is Christian. That automatically means that we are followers of Christ. But you tell us why you think the Catholic Church qualifies as the one true church.
Well, let's begin with a little history lesson. The Catholic Church was founded in the year 33 AD by Jesus Christ. It's been growing strong for almost 2,000 continuous years. But it should be well noted, no Protestant church existed until the 16th century. At that point, the Catholic Church was already 1,500 years old. If you look at any reliable history book, you will find that the Catholic Church was the first Christian church.
No, I believe you're wrong. That's not true. St. Peter founded your church just like Martin Luther founded mine. And it was Jesus Christ who started each church.
No. Jesus gave Peter his authority when he said, "And I say to thee that thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it." St. Peter then became the first pope and head of the Catholic Church that Jesus founded. I'm quite positive Jesus never told that to Martin Luther. But you were right about one thing. Your church was founded by Martin Luther. 1,500 years later, the Protestant revolt began in Wittenberg, Germany. On that infamous day, the soon-to-be ex-priest nailed 95 protests to the doors of the Catholic Church. The so-called Reformation grew out of this one act and has grown into thousands of different denominations who nonetheless disagree with one another over key doctrines. Now, contrast this with the unbroken line of the Catholic Church, which stretches through 2,000 years and has preserved the original faith of Christ through a succession of over 260 popes, from St. Peter to our Pope today.
Well, it may be true that the Catholic Church was the first, but certainly you have not proven that it is the one true church.
Sir, do you believe that Christ would come to earth, establish a church, then suffer for it and be crucified only to pause everything and leave his church for 1,500 years without a leader or guidelines or moral law? Think about it. For all that time, the church was growing. Great cathedrals and monasteries were built. Apostles were preaching through the streets. Masses were said. Books were written. Dogmas were debated over. Countless martyrs gave their lives for their faith long before the Reformation.
Maybe so, but certainly not everyone was happy about it. Many protested the wealth and the power of the Pope. He even had his own army.
You bet he did. They were defending your Christian ancestors. Where were your ancestors in 1571 when the Holy Father and the Catholic Army, the Holy League, saved Europe from Muslim invaders? The Battle of Lepanto was the major victory that turned the tide against the Turkish fleet, the most feared navy in the world. That famous victory prevented the Islamic takeover of Europe and saved Christianity so that we may stand here debating it today. If you could remove the Catholic Church from world history, Christianity would not exist on the face of the earth. Who was it that hand-copied each page of this Bible before the printing press was invented? Without God's blessing, the Christian faith would have died in the Colosseum. Neither the Christian faith nor the Bible would exist today without the ones who defended and preserved it.
Miss Liz, tell me, how can you believe in Catholicism when there have been so many scandals in your own church?
As sad as it is that scandals may happen, our faith is not in man. Our faith is in God and in Christ who gave us our church. Even though men can become corrupt, that doesn't change the power of the sacraments or the prayers. It doesn't affect the whole Eucharist. Think back to the first 12 apostles. Judas, one of the 12 handpicked by Jesus, and Judas betrayed Christ by handing him over to be crucified. It's a good thing the other apostles didn't walk away from Christ when Judas committed the ultimate scandal. We can't lose our faith in God, even though we may lose our faith in men. It's time for common sense. I ask you, which is the true church founded by Jesus Christ? History, logic, and common sense tell us it's the Catholic Church. So should we believe in the divine authority of Jesus Christ, or the human authority of mortal men who have supposedly reformed his church? Instead of listening to the media propaganda, let the history unravel the truth. I'm Miss Liz, and that's Common Sense.
Early America saw thousands of frightened and starving Catholic immigrants fleeing from Europe and seeking safety and religious asylum. However, bigotry had come to America before they arrived. Laws discriminating against Catholics had already been passed in many of the states and almost destroyed the religious liberty they had come so far to find. Anti-Catholic groups, like the American Protective Association, distributed anti-Catholic literature and opposed the election of Catholics to public offices. Sometimes there was even rioting and destruction of church property. A great new wave of Irish immigration brought even more religious hatred, and bigoted signs were placed throughout the cities, "Down with the Catholics." This was the state of anti-Catholic prejudice in America in the early 1900s. The Church has suffered from the days of Nero to the days of Stalin and Hitler. Catholics have faced imprisonment, crucifixion, the guillotine, hanging and firing squads around the world. The Church's property has been plundered from Roman times to the present. Countless Catholics have stood helpless as the Church was persecuted. Today, we again see the ugly head of discrimination in countless forms. But we shouldn't be surprised, for there has never been a day in almost 2,000 years that the Catholic Church has not been under assault. And yet, to the present time, she has not surrendered one single letter of divinely revealed truth, which Christ commanded her to proclaim to the world until the end of time. Christ himself made it perfectly clear that we would be persecuted for our belief in him, and that each and every one of us must follow him to the cross. This is our faith. This is the faith of the fathers, and this is the faith of the martyrs, the same unchanging faith that we too must defend.